Here we go.
You ready?
I'm ready. You ready? Okay, I am ready. So, sometime today, are we going to go live there, LT?
Yeah. We're getting everything all set up. Shut up.
We are fancy schmancy. We have a producer.
We do.
We're like Joe Rogan. You know, you ever listen or watch Joe Rogan? He's got a producer in the background, Jamie, that is just freaking on it, like a bum on a ham sandwich. We are so fancy. We have one of them there producer type people. All
right.
Oh, are we
It
on?
is 8 o'clock, and we are live and in person with the public. Hey, welcome to Surviving the Badge, everybody. We appreciate you guys joining in. Hopefully you guys are starting to log in and get set up and everything. This is going to be a blast. We're going to do a little question and answer. Yep. We're going to do a liquor review, all kinds of stuff. And tonight's topic is what it's like to be a cop and how to become a cop and all of the above. And if we get squirreled off into another topic, a little bit, that's okay, because we're going to be here for 45 minutes.
No problem with that at all.
In your living rooms, your cars, your whatever.
Around
having
the
a ball.
world.
Having a ball.
Hey, so I wanted to do something before we get kicked off and everything. I owe LT a beer. I brought him 6 because I'm just awesome that way. Because I lost a shooting bet, and LT kicked my ass in shooting, and I am big enough man to appreciate that I lost. I realize that my eyes are going, but you got.
Okay, let me preface this. This is the national pistol champion when he was a young lad.
Many moons
ago. For me
ago.
to beat him in anything to do with a gun is remarkable. And yes, I jumped around like an idiot out there at the range. And what do we have here?
So it's a nice wheat beer that
Kronbacher.
Yeah, Kronbacher wheat beer. So I gave you 6 so that you could enjoy those 6.
Can't say you welch on your bet. And I think Steven owes you a cigar or a beer
our
also.
Producer does owe us
because he was out there. Steven is the producer of this show. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
He's sitting just off camera over there. He's taking care of us with the comments and everything else.
Oh, here he goes. He gave me his. Let's see, what do I have?
Oh, he gave you a whole cigar pack.
Do I get to keep the case?
No.
Or do I get to pick one of the 3s?
Oh
gosh, I don't know.
All right, make it quick. Come on.
Okay,
got a show to
sorry.
do. All right,
we have 45 minutes. All right,
yeah,
I'll pick this one.
But we don't want to spend it on you picking a damn cigar.
All right. So the question I have for you, Lieutenant LT. So my very first question for you is, how was the transition from horseback to patrol vehicle?
It never ends. It never frickin' ends. We've been doing this shit for 4 years now, and ever since we started, I ride horses and carry flintlock, matchlock frickin' pistols, and you're an asshole. Anyway, excuse my language. No, don't excuse my language.
So you're not going to...
No. So, you know what? I'm going to go straight into this bourbon because this bourbon is absolutely amazing. I just had a little sip of it. This is Bowman Brothers small batch straight bourbon whiskey out of Virginia.
It's good.
Dude, this was not that expensive. And I'm telling you right now, that is some classic.
That is a decent bourbon.
God, that's good.
I'm enjoying that. So I'm a bourbon drinker from way back. So
out of bourbons, I'm going to give this, at a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this a solid 8.75.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is strong. This is good stuff. What do you think? What's your grade?
Yeah, I give that a good 7.5. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
That's good. That's a good bourbon.
Steve-O, what do you give it?
I'm going to give it an 8.
He's going to give it an 8.
Nice. Good. I think it averages to about an 8.
Yeah.
So
it's good stuff. And it was only $32 for that bottle, so that ain't bad at all.
So LT, why'd you become a cop?
My honest answer to that is
100%. We're real for the people.
It was the only job that paid pretty decent, was exciting, was interesting, and I didn't have to have a damn college degree.
Okay. Yeah.
And I had a high school diploma. My dad was a cop. My brother was a cop. And I said, what the hell? Just fall into the mode, you know?
What was your first hourly pay rate?
It was right at about like $7.25 an hour.
Okay, yeah, my
in
first
1985.
my first cop job, I was reserved, so it's a little less, but
Yeah.
I was making $6.61 an hour as a reserve cop with the city of Daytona driving paddy wagon.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So, I mean, the pay is not there. This is a labor of love, as they call it.
Right?
It's something that you're either born into, like I was, or you just have a love for it. You want to help. You want to have an exciting career. You want to get out there and make a difference. You know, it's not easy, man. You got to get, a lot of agencies require a sponsorship, which means someone does your background investigation, agency does your background investigation, and checks you all out, everything else. Once everything's cleared and you're checked out, then you can go through the academy, which got to be up around 600 and something hours
770,
now.
I think it is.
Jesus. When
Yeah,
I
what
went
was-
through,
what-
it was 320.
Really, mine was 520 because it wasn't that many years after yours.
No.
I mean, yeah, and I think it's around 720 or 770 right now.
But you know what they added, I think, after that? Because right after I got started was the Rodney King incident in
Right.
LA.
Yeah.
And I think they added a lot of use of force training and everything else, which we didn't really have.
Right.
I mean, this is what they taught us when I went to the academy as far as use of force. That force which is necessary to take the suspect into custody.
Yeah.
Period. That was it. There was no levels. Like there's a matrix now.
Right. And
you know,
even
and
when
all
we're
that
going
crap.
past Matrix, there's just a response. Yeah.
It's crazy now, but and I understand why. You know, I mean, there was some pretty crazy crap that went on in the 60s, 50s, you know.
Rodney King, I show the Rodney King beating to my students, and I ask him, I said, what is the number one failure in this video? And they're like, this and that and the other, and I'm like, leadership.
It is, yeah.
That is the number one failure.
Stacy, was it?
I
The
don't-
sergeant?
Yeah,
Stacy Coons, I think it was?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
A sergeant was on scene. A sergeant or a lieutenant or somebody in charge should have said, or even a leader, you can be a leader as an officer.
Absolutely you can.
Should have said, all right,
Jump on the son of a bitch.
you
and
guys grab
put
his arms, you
handcuffs
guys
on
grab
him.
his legs, let's cuff him.
Put handcuffs on it. But no, they
But
sat
there was-
there and they smacked him.
The
I mean,
biggest failure, in my opinion, was a failure in leadership.
was he resisting? Absolutely, he was resisting, and absolutely, use of force was necessary to subdue him. He was a big guy. He wasn't some little 100-pound wimp. This guy was a big guy.
There was 13 people at that scene.
13 cops, dude.
Yeah.
It only takes about 4 or 5 to hold this guy down and put handcuffs on him and put him in the car.
Yeah, that was a disgrace to law enforcement.
It was, and it was lack of training.
Yep.
It was lack of leadership and everything else. There was so much stuff lacking in that whole situation. As was the George Floyd incident. There was a lot of supervision lacking there. You know, several of these incidents.
So, LT, you were a patrol officer for many, many moons, and then you made sergeant. And I feel that a lot of people, when they make sergeant, they're like, oh, hey, look, I got the sergeant stripes. What was the big realization? Like, wow, I have all this responsibility. When did that occur to you that, okay, it's not just a rank, it's more than that?
I think when I made sergeant, it was, 1997. I think it was, 1997. It was just the fact that, well, first it was elation, you know, oh my God, I'm a sergeant. I finally made rank. Oh my
Right.
God, this is
Yeah,
great. You know,
absolutely.
blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, wow, holy cow. I've got 4 guys out here that are dependent on me to make the right decision.
Right.
You know, and I was scared to death every time they'd get a call. I would go, you know, and just worried about what the decisions they were going to make and everything else. But I never was, and you worked for me for a little
bit,
short period
yeah.
of time, but I never was one of those nitpicking
Right.
ass supervisors that, you know, every decision you made, I was second guessing you and asking you why. And I listened to your decision, listened to what you did. And unless I had a problem with it, hey, It may not be what I would do. As long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, handle it.
Right. How long did it take for you to become comfortable as sergeant?
Probably a good year.
Yeah.
I would say at least a good year for me to become very comfortable. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to turn the speaker off on this computer. There we go. Sorry about the beeping. Yeah, it would be a good year, because, hey, man, I was only a cop at that time, maybe 11 years, I guess. And that's a long time, but it's a whole different ball game.
Right.
When you have that type of
That
situation.
extra responsibility.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
So obviously as a sergeant, you're kind of in the middle ground. Your job is to toe the line of the agency, but also protect your officers.
Right.
Was that a difficult thing to? Okay, you know what? Yes, Lieutenant, whatever. But these are my guys, and I'm very protective because officers will know if you were for them or against them.
It was, but I made it clear to my officers. I said, look, here's the deal. If you do the right thing within the laws and policy of the agency, I will go to bat for you all the way to the city hall, and I will give up this badge and everything else for you if you're right. If you screw up, be honest, tell me you screwed up. I will do my best to give you the least amount of punishment if it's your first offense, and we'll go from there. But I'm not going to go in there and lie for you or protect you if you screwed up. We're just going to go in there and say, hey, the guy screwed up. Let's give him a smack on the head, unless it was something very, very serious, and let's move on. And most of the guys that I deal with, and when I say guys, I mean guys and gals, I used to have this thing called a come to Jesus speech. And I'd walk them in the office, and I'd say, here's the deal. And I wish Bobby Drummond was listening, because he used to laugh at this. If I called if I called you a knucklehead or a hammerhead, if I called you a hammerhead, you were only slightly in trouble, and I wasn't all that mad. If I called you an effing hammerhead, you were in some serious crap, and I was pretty pissed off. But I took care of it. But anyway, the guys knew that I would take care of them. They all did a good job for me. I only had a few screw-ups that I had to get rid of and run out of the agency, because they were just completely screw-ups, didn't need to be cops, and they were dealt with accordingly. I mean, and everybody knew it. They said, man, LT, or well, at that time, Sarge, don't ever write anybody up. If you got your ass wrote up by the Sarge, you screwed up big time. You crashed a car. You did something really stupid.
Something you can't help.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe we've got some new officers watching. You were talking about lying or truthfulness. How important is truthfulness in law enforcement?
Buddy, if somebody came to me and said, Sarge, I screwed up, man. I did this or I did that. Okay, let's work through the problem. Let's see what we can do to rectify the situation, not cover nothing up. Let's fix the situation. If let's say they made a bad arrest. Let's unarrest the guy.
Right.
Let's take him back where we picked him up. Let's apologize to the person.
Right.
Tell them what happened. And you know what? I was never, knock on wood, as a police officer, supervisor, or anything else, I was never sued in civil trial or court for anything my officers did. And I had to unarrest a couple of people and apologize to them and say, hey, we're sorry we screwed up. And you know what they said? They shook my hand and said, you know what? You guys thought you were doing your job the right way. I appreciate your honesty. No harm, no foul. See you later.
Right.
Yeah.
So for some officers who might be moving into being a sergeant, what advice would you give them?
I would give them the advice of sit down with your people, talk to your people, tell them what you expect. You have to get your expectations out there right off the get-go.
Right.
You have to tell them, you got to show to work up on time. You've got to do, this many contacts with the public, whether it be traffic stops, consensual contacts.
So officers
whatever.
have quotas?
That's a big negative, and you know better. You have
So
to.
why do officers have quotas there, LT?
They don't have quotas, and you know that. They can stop as many as they want. You know, there is an expectation of activity, though. You can, a guy
Better be
that's
working.
Yeah, a guy that's sitting in his car and he doesn't do nothing for 12 hours except for answer the call that he's given is worthless to me.
One call, yeah.
He is not thwarting crime
Right.
by sitting on his ass or her ass, not doing a damn thing.
And at the end of the night, when he has 12 miles on his patrol car,
We call that a sign.
yeah.
Hey, Steve, I know you probably have some questions, buddy. Go ahead and do we have any online yet? Probably not. I don't think we even have anybody watching.
Car is saying some words. It says "fu" could be constructed as sexual harassment, even if I was trying push someone into a giant paper shard.
Who said that?
J Car.
J Car?
Giant paper shredder. It reminds me of an old Columbo episode where.
Oh, I know who that is. I know who that is. If that's you, Jake, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. But you had some questions that you had told us about. This is our producer, Steve. He's over here out of the camera. Go ahead, man. Fire off.
So mine was, what training do you have to do in your training for like self-defense and stuff? Do you guys do martial arts? Is it a named martial arts, or is it just like a self-defense that they train in the academy?
Can I take that for a second?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I know when I went to the academy, it was just looking back on it was a very, very bad form of self-defense. You had some arm bars and stuff like that, and
Shit that never worked.
shit that never worked.
Never.
And just is, I mean, transporter's okay, but the thing is that, and I have students who say, hey, Mr. Long, I want to go into law enforcement. The number one thing I tell them to do, I say, before you even go to the police academy, sign up for a ground fighting school.
Absolutely.
Which I'm kind of sad that once again law enforcement was behind the curve on it. Every fight that I've ever been to or in, then probably you, where'd they go? Right to the ground.
Right to the ground.
So
I used to teach my guys, take him to the ground.
right.
You can control them better on the ground than standing up.
So I don't know the name of the defensive tactics that they were using when, because I was never a defensive tactics instructor. I was a firearms instructor, but I just know that it was lacking, and we should have, and I hope that the academies now are treating more or are training more on a ground fighting.
Krav Maga.
Okay.
That's what they should be teaching them. They really should.
There's a great video where in Vegas this officer is dealing with this homeless guy and he takes him right to the ground. You could tell that this officer has had some really good ground fighting classes, some experience, and any officer that's going to go into law enforcement, if you're thinking about it, learn, because there is no way you can make it out of a career without being in a fight.
Well. I mean, if you're the last one on scene and you then get an office job in their second year on the job,
just stop. You're going to get in a fight.
Yeah, you are. You are going to get in a fight.
You're going to just get in a fight. You could be the nicest cop on the planet.
Let me just say this: if you go through an entire career and you have never been in a fight on the job, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm sorry,
or
you
tell
should be.
us, explain how that happened.
Yeah, you should be freaking ashamed of yourself. That means you're the last SOB on scene. You were always the last one to show up, and we had a couple guys like that.
Yeah,
we had a couple guys like that.
Even if you are the last guy on the scene or gal on the scene, you should be jumping in there.
Yeah, grabbing a leg, an arm, a handcuff, something.
Because I know this, that if I'm in a fight and all the officers around me are in this fight, and then
So you and I worked. The smallest cop on our force, smallest cop, is in there with this guy. I show up second. Now he calls for backup, says, I need backup now. I'm fighting one. I get in a car. I get to the end of the driveway. Car dies. Now this is all the way across town. Car dies.
run out of gas.
No, it just died. I get out of the car. I run all the way back into the station, 150 yards. That time I was much thinner. Run back into the station, grab another set of keys from dispatch, run out, jump in this car, go all the way across town, code 3, which means hauling ass, get on scene.
Balls to the wind.
I'm the first one there.
No.
We had me, the little guy that's in the fight, and a sergeant. I get in there, grab the guy. He's got this little officer pinned up against the wall. I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6'3", 260 pounds. I'm a 65 pounds. I'm a big guy. I grab this SOB, put him in a bear hug, flip him over, throw him on the bed. We get him handcuffed. My name tag on this side ripped off. It's hanging. My badge is ripped. It's hanging. My shit's all in disarray. My shirt's all ripped open. Everything else. I mean, we fought this guy for like 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's a long fight.
No help. Nobody shows. It's me and Richie.
How many on?
It's me, this guy, and and a sergeant.
Where's the other zone officer?
It's me, this guy, and a sergeant.
Okay.
That's all that's on duty.
Oh, okay.
Where's the sergeant?
He's not in the mix.
So I get him handcuffed. We're taking him outside. Richie's shirt's halfway off of him. He's bloody. He's got scratches all over his neck where the guy had him up against the wall. I'm walking him outside, and the sergeant's standing in the doorway. And I look at the sergeant, and excuse my language, please. I
Can I
forgiveness.
guess what you said?
I looked at him and I go, "Where in the fuck were you?"
Yeah.
And he looks at me. "Oh, I was keeping the family back." I walked out, put him in the car. I went back to the station. Sergeant shows up about 10 minutes later. I said, "Partner, you need to get away from me." I said, "There is no excuse for me beating you all the way across town and then being in a fight for 2 to 3
Grabbing
minutes
a
and you
second car.
never showing up and helping us handcuff this guy." It took everything I had. And at the time, I was benching 300 pounds. It took everything I had to get the handcuffs on this guy. This guy was big. So anyway,
So
if you go through a whole career and you're not in a fight, there's something wrong with you.
Is there a write-up for cowardice?
Well, I went in and talked to the chief about that.
Yeah.
And I told him the whole
I
situation.
need to write the sergeant up for cowardice.
He pulled all the
Because in the
time
military, I
stamps
think
and
you can
cards.
be written up for cowardice.
Of course you can. Pull all the time cards and stamps and everything else. Well, everybody knew at the time that he was pretty much a yellow spine coward. And good thing is a couple years later he retired and moved on. So anyway, that was my one war story where we had somebody that wasn't helping. What else you got for
I
me?
know that your dad, because I worked with LT's dad, he was my sergeant for a while, stopped me and my zone partner from fighting somebody. we go in there and
Was that the push-ups?
yes. so we go in there.
This is great.
And I'm a young cop and I just want to get into this shit. You know, you just want to let's do it.
Yeah,
You know,
hell yeah.
You just full of piss and vinegar.
And you were a scrappy bastard too, as I remember.
You want to charge hell with a bucket of water and
Yes,
shit,
sir.
you know. So me and my zone partner arrive at this domestic violence, and this guy's saying, "I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm gonna kick your mother ass," and we're like, "All right, let's go."
Was it Randy?
Yeah, it was. So your dad comes in, and I'm like, "Hey, Sarge," and he's like, "Hey, Randy. How many push-ups can you do?" "Oh, I could do 7,000 push-ups." He's all angry and stuff.
Yeah, he's all pumped.
And your dad's like, bullshit, you can't. And he's like, "I'll show you, Sarge," because obviously he knows everybody, right?
Yeah.
And he jumps down and he starts doing push-ups, and your dad's like, so we jump on him and cuff him.
He's already
right?
on the ground.
I'm like, I wanted to go to town with this guy.
My dad was one of the wisest guys there was, man. I swear. He really was. He knew how to just get around it. And he was the first one to jump into a scrap and heap, too, boy. I'll tell you.
We were about the same zone partner, same sergeant. We were about to kick a door in on a bedroom and go after this guy. And your dad's like, "Oh, here's the key." We're like,
You know, the first thing they told me when I went to the fire school, which was before I became a cop, and thank God I wasn't a fireman, but second responder. But anyway,
America's second
yeah,
responders.
they told me, they said, try before you pry. It said, always try the door handle or see if there's a key under the mat before you destroy the entire door trying to get in. And I always rang home to me. I always at least tried the door handle.
We're ready. We're about to kick it in, right? Donkey kick or a front kick.
Mule kick.
And your dad's like, oh, no, here's the thing. And I'm like, fuck.
I went to call one time and the guy had the music going. It was screaming. I mean, blaring, screaming. We couldn't get this guy to shut off the music. Neighbors
Do I know who that is?
Greg. Yeah. No, it was Greg. Grayson. Yeah.
Well, who's the bad guy?
Huh? No.
Oh, okay.
No. This was an unknown.
Okay.
We didn't know him, but it was in a a duplex. So of course the neighbors were raising hell. Man, you gotta get. I got babies. They won't, and this guy's blaring the music. And we beat on the windows. We beat on everything else, trying to get this guy to shut up. You know what I'm saying? Or to turn the music down or whatever it was. And man, thanks producer Steve. And
producer Steve. Is that like Scuba Steve?
It is. That's producer Steve.
Producer Steve.
So he just changed the camera for us. Thank you, buddy. Anyway, so Greg comes over, and I said, Sarge, we can't get this guy to shut the radio off, man. What the hell are we gonna do? I said, we can't just leave the radio going.
Right.
And he goes, where's the power button?
In the house.
I said, it's on the side of the house. And he goes, just shut it down. That'll shut the radio off.
Right.
I said, well, goddamn. I went around there. All of a sudden, the music stopped. And all of a sudden, we hear on the windows, you son of a bitch, turn my power back on. I said, if you want it back on, you got to come out and turn it on.
Right.
The idiot, in
Comes
about
out.
5 minutes, he comes out to turn the power on. Of course, we grab him for, failure to obey a lawful order and everything. See ya, you're going to the county jail. Turn his power back on, went in, turned the radio off, said, y'all have a nice evening. They're like, oh, thank you. I mean, you got to think, guys, if you're going to do this job, you got to think. Yeah. It's not always pull your gun out, pull your asp out, pull your baton out. It's think.
It's a mental
when you
game,
have time
for
to
sure.
think. When you have time to think. Sometimes you don't have time. It's a quick reaction. It's it's gut reflexes. But when you got time to think. And Greg was the best at that, man. That guy, I called him the Silver Fox, dude. That guy could outthink anybody in a situation. He was
working
amazing,
for Greg.
man.
I really, really love working for Greg.
We called him Binder for a little while.
I know.
Because everything was by the book, man. It had to be by the book. Yep. Old big thumbs. One thing about it, if Greg went to a scene, he had a rule of thumb. It's called a rule of thumb.
I just talked to my students about what the rule of thumb is. Yep.
If you couldn't cover an entire scene with one eye with your thumb, you were too close to a hazmat scene.
Yeah, cops are not designed to work hazmat. And
no, that's for the second responders.
I took my students outside and I said, hold up your thumb and hold over that door. And I explained to them, hazmat, if you can't cover the whole scene with your thumb,
here's the problem with Greg. Greg's thumbs were about that freaking wide. Okay, I exaggerate. They were about that wide.
Love you, Greg.
Love you, Greg. The problem is when he would do rule of thumb, you were about 500 meters closer than you needed to be. So it's like, okay, we're moving back another 5. First question you ask, was this Greg's rule of thumb or was this a normal rule of thumb? We love you, Greg. Buddy, you were the best sergeant both of us ever worked for. Salute to you, brother.
Working for you, Greg.
You were amazing.
Awesome.
You were absolutely amazing. I've never... Other than maybe my dad, I never had a better sergeant than you, my friend. You were the greatest.
Yep.
You were the greatest.
So,
Producer Steve, what was the other question that you had? Or do we have any comments from the audience?
So we do have another one from Jake R. He says, why would anyone want to get into law enforcement in the world that we live in now? It's crazy. There's so much backlash against law enforcement anymore.
That is a great comment. What is it, Jake R? Jake R. Jake, I know who you are, buddy, and thank you. I don't really honestly know under today's environment other than just that absolute feeling inside them that they've got to make a difference, they've got to become involved, and God bless them for doing so. I have had several people come to me and ask me, hey, my son, or hey, I want to be a cop. I got to be honest with you, man. I have steered them as far away from it as I can and told them to get into the fire service or the government service or something else, because other than, as we talked on the last show, Grady Judd and a couple of the others, there is not a whole lot of leaders out there that really watch over their people, man, and protect them. And I would say probably 30%, maybe 25% of the public is not behind them. They are not there to cover your butt, you know, when the crap goes south. And that's a great question, Jake. I really don't know the answer to that, other than if you want to get into law enforcement, God bless you. We are behind you 100%. And just know that 75% or so of the citizens out here do love you, even though they may not say so, and they have your back. Just be careful, man. Just be careful.
So,
what's your input on that?
I didn't come from a law enforcement family.
Right.
My dad was in the military. When he got out of the military, he did diesel mechanics. My mom eventually was a correctional officer, but I fell in love with law enforcement long before that. And I think it is a love that drives people. A love to make a difference, a love to, like, I love being a detective. Patrol, it was exciting, but as a detective, I love puzzles. I love putting shit together and solving. But you've got to, in the marrow of your bones, want to do it.
You really do. You really do.
Don't go into law enforcement because it's exciting and there's police chases and the TV show SWAT. My students are like, well, what do you think of the TV show SWAT? Stop. Just stop. Yeah. It's so real. No, it's not.
It's really not.
Any of these, but it's one of those things that you just have to fall in love with, and you have to feel it. I loved being a cop. I got out before it was so bad, and it was the greatest career ever.
It really was.
Every day is different. You're dealing with good people. You're dealing with medium people. You're dealing with the shit of people.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing was putting those people in jail.
It really was.
Yeah. And it's such a, you know what? This person has been abusing children or burglarizing. And
what was the greatest experience of your entire career? The most rewarding, let's say, experience in your entire career?
Arresting a guy who had thousands of child pornography.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, thousands
pictures and videos?
Yeah, pictures, videos, and this
the
guy.
The FBI get involved?
What's that?
The FBI task force get involved?
So that's actually
because a buddy
funny.
of mine, Steve, used to work for them. He's retired now. He used to work for them.
So everybody, you know how you have all these FBI shows?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I had a love-hate experience with the FBI. Some of the FBI agents I deal with were great. Some were just total douchebag.
We used to call them
dicks.
FB1.
Yeah. So yeah. We had this guy.
Okay.
That we fucking knucklehead went and took his computer to a shop and says, it's not downloading anything. So the shop holder fixes it and starts.
Dumb criminal award.
Right. And he's like, holy shit. And so he contacts.
Good for him.
He contacts
man.
Pat and I. We go to his house. We execute a search warrant. And it's like, and we immediately we contact the FBI. Because they had innocent images and stuff. And they're like, he's a local guy. Whatever. They blew us off. Right?
What?
They blew us off.
Wow.
As we're going...
If my buddy Steve would have got that, dude, he'd have been all over that.
As we're going through it, we find that he had 70,000 images. Oh, guess who came and took the case? They showed up at our
FB1?
Yeah. They showed up at the PD saying... This is now our case.
Oh,
it wasn't your case when it was just some local schmo.
Wow.
Yeah. So love-hate relationship.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
wow.
and then other FBI agents I've worked with, and they were great and wonderful.
Yeah.
And then just I had another case, and not to shit on the FBI, but I'm going to.
Well, let's shit on the FBI.
I had a case, and the primary function that I did in as a detective was fraud and forgery. I worked a bunch of other stuff, murders and stuff, but my meat and potatoes was fraud and forgery. And I had this guy who had a laptop, and he would make a crap ton of counterfeit IDs and checks and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he was just banging the whole Central Florida area, and the FBI is like, yeah, we're kind of looking at him a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do what I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And I talked to his wife, and hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Absolutely.
And she tells us, because she's pissed off of him, hey, guess what? He bangs out all these checks and all this shit, and then he pawns checks. And then he pawns his laptop.
Oh, wow.
For protection. He puts it in a pawn shop so that if anybody hits his house on a search warrant, it's not there.
Wow.
So I execute a search warrant on the pawn shop.
Right.
Get his laptop and just the mother load.
Right.
And he
the other way. Towards Steven. There we go. Got a little echo. I just want to take care of it. Yeah. That was one of the comments. Yeah. We're good, brother. We're good.
So we get the mother load. We image his laptop, everything, and just great stuff. All this work that I did, FBI comes in and says, "Hey, way to fuck up the case." I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize what you guys were you guys doing anything? No, but we're gonna take what you got now.
Now we have to do all this.
Yeah. I'm like,
oh, so you have to do your job?
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah. Sometimes the feds, man, I tell you, they used to aggravate the piss out of me when we were in the when I was in CCIB, the drug unit. They would aggravate the hell out of me.
What do you got,
Producer Steve?
Producer Steve.
Tyler Gregory says, Mr. Long, you're looking more and more like Albert Einstein.
Yes, he is.
Thank you.
That's what I called him when he walked in tonight. I said, look at Albert Einstein. Look at this guy, man. Come on.
It's the hair. It's not the brain.
Dude, you need a haircut. Jesus. All right,
Over my house, I'll go ahead and buzz that off.
Yeah, exactly. Right? You had a question, though, that you had formulated from yourself. What was the other one about the equipment or something you were asking?
So, do you guys have to purchase your own equipment? If you do, what do you have to purchase? You have to purchase your own guns, your own stab vests, your own, holsters and such.
Okay, so most of the agencies provide a firearm, your duty belt, your bullet-resistant vest. There is no stab vest because a knife, like an ice pick, will go right through a bulletproof vest. And, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but anyway. Knives, I mean, it'll stop most wide blade knives, but and most of your uniforms, your pants, your shirt, all your collar brass, your badge, all that is all provided.
Everything but socks and underwear.
Right. The agency that I worked for actually gave us also shoes. Some agencies did. In the old agency that I worked for, the first agency I worked for, the first two, they did not provide shoes. You had to buy your own boots.
They didn't give you, because I know our agency gave us a boot allowance.
They did. But the first two I worked for, nope, you were responsible for your own shoes and all that. But basically, socks and underwear were all you really had to provide yourself. Everything else was provided for you.
Now, when I worked for Daytona PD, freaking 1989, jeez.
God, you're old.
They provided everything but the gun, and I had to provide that. Yeah, as a reserve officer.
What'd you get?
I got a Smith & Wesson Model 66.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what
classic 357
at our agency. Yeah.
Beautiful, amazing gun. Yeah.
Stainless steel.
Stainless steel. Yeah. So
I got one question between that question. What was your first duty pistol that you were given?
Okay, that's
LT
a great
had
question.
A flintlock.
Yeah. When I went to work for the first agency, they gave me I think it was a Model 66, I believe it was. And then when I went to work for the second agency, it was a Model 19 blue steel 357 Magnum revolver. third agent and final agency for 31 and so on years. Huh?
Was that made by Cole?
Smith.
Smith was
and
19.
Wesson.
Yeah.
And then the third agency was, when I first started there, was a Smith & Wesson Model 66 357 Magnum. And then we transitioned.
I wish I had that gun still.
I do too. I didn't have the money to buy it when they offered it to us, and I wish I would have. But then we transitioned to the Glock 22, which was a 40 caliber, and that's what I had when I retired. And actually, that's the gun that I got when I
Are
retired.
they still carrying that, or did they go back to the 9?
No. They're still carrying the Glock 22.
Okay.
Yep. And now they have the.
I know a
red
lot of
dots
agencies
on.
have converted back to the 9 because it's more. So we went.
User friendly.
Well, no. Yeah,
Yes,
I get
yes.
it. Let's go with user friendly.
Doesn't have as much.
Yeah. So
recoil.
the most important thing when you're talking about a handgun is
Have you seen
shot
some of these
placement.
cops?
I know.
They're like this big around, this
Shot
tall.
placement.
Yeah.
Shot placement. So it's not going to help you if you have a 40 caliber and you miss. 9 millimeters over the studies, people are more accurate with a 9 millimeter.
They are, but here's what I look at. If you've already got the 40 caliber, it carries 15 rounds in the mag and 1 in the pipe, so 16 your first round through, and then 15 each magazine after. If you carry the 9, you're either going to have the same or maybe 2 more. I say stick with the 40 because when it hits, it punches a hole like nobody's business.
It does, but it's a lot hotter round.
It is, and the recoil's a lot higher and everything
you're going to
else.
have a lot more
But you know what? Shame on
misses.
you if you're not going to the freaking range and you're not freaking practicing with it and doing a better job.
What's wrong, producer Steve?
35% better.
Oh, so
Okay, we're good.
Yeah,
we're good.
We're good.
All right, keep the questions
So,
coming. What do I have on text here? Hold on. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. I have a question or change, but we'll. Okay, never mind. All right.
So,
Jake just texted me and he said, I wouldn't get back into it. Just the internal BS and politics was enough to drive me out of it. And you know what? That is the main reason, Jake. Good comment, because that is the main reason why a lot of law enforcement officers right now are getting the hell out of the job, is because of the internal BS that they're having to deal with and the nitpicking. What do you call it? What do you call it when they're following you around, nitpicking?
micromanaging
And everything else. It's driving these folks absolutely apeshit crazy. I get texts all the time from folks that used to work for me.
Yeah.
And they're like, LT, what the hell do I do, man? This is driving me insane. And I try to give them as much advice as I can, but you're right, Jake. You're excuse me. I'm sorry, beer.
I don't understand why New York has any police officers at all, because didn't they get rid of qualified immunity?
Not for Florida.
No, I said that's with New York.
Oh, New York.
He's not listening.
I don't know. Probably. Yeah,
so-
probably. I'm sorry.
All right, so
I'm trying to tune into our fans, brah.
jeez, this guy, right?
Yeah, we don't have one.
What?
Anyway, go ahead.
Anything else?
No, any other comments? Oh, you had another question.
I did have one more. If you had to go back in time and do it all over again from the beginning, would you change anything?
Yeah, I would have probably stayed in school and got my degree a little sooner. And then I would have moved up through the ranks a little sooner and retired sooner. I would not have stayed in as long as I did. I would have went into the drop at 25 years and did my full 5 years in drop at 30 and got out.
Would you have? Let me ask you this: you were a THI.
Yep. Traffic homicide investigator.
Did you do reconstruction?
Mm-hmm.
Would you have?
We all did.
Would you have followed that onto all
No
of those?
way in hell.
So that you could testify in court for $400 an
No.
hour? Why?
Because it is a pain in the
It's not worth it?
ass. It is not worth it.
Really?
These insurance companies do not pay squat. Even if you are a registered expert witness, They don't pay shit. There's no way. Good friend of ours, Bobby Jones. Mm-hmm. Bobby Jones did the whole gambit.
Yeah.
He got out of it. There
Really?
is not enough money in it for all the prep and all the work you have to do. By the time you break down your hours and everything of all the work you have done,
$6 an hour.
dude, you're making like $9 or $10 an hour.
No.
I can go right around and do the job I'm doing now for 12. I'm good, and my job is so freaking easy. Even a caveman can do it. Seriously, and there are some cavemen doing my job. Jake, you'll like that one. You're gonna laugh your ass off. Any more comments, Steve-O?
Tyler said it sounds great. Video's great. Channel came a long way. Proud of you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Ty. Appreciate it, buddy.
So, first police car. I know you're a car
We
guy.
covered this once before,
Yep.
but my first one was a 1979 Chevrolet Malibu with the smallest possible V8 they could put in a Chevy Malibu, and it wouldn't drag a dead dog out of the house on roller skates. It was terrible.
Fastest police car you've had.
Fastest
Police car, not motorcycle.
I was going to say motorcycle, because we know what that was. That was the Honda. Fastest police car was most likely the 1984 Chevy Impala 350 4-barrel dual exhaust. That was pretty effing fast.
Where'd you have that?
At DeLand.
Yeah?
Yeah, the Impala. It was the
Yeah.
old traffic car.
Yeah.
With a big bubblegum machine
Right,
on
yeah,
top. But
bubblegum
it was
machine.
pretty badass,
Yeah?
man. That thing was fast. Second to that was probably... We had a Taurus with the 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo. And let me tell you, and it was the first edition, so it wasn't the 400 horsepower, but it was probably the fastest one I ever drove.
So nothing from Mad Max, the police
blowers.
interceptor blower.
Yeah, no blowers. No, I never had that shit. I wish.
All right, so let's explore that a minute. LT, local agency hires you to make the fastest police car. What is it?
Probably, I mean, if it's just going to be like a chase car.
Yeah, it's a pursuit vehicle.
Is it gonna have to?
It's apocalyptic, and it's a pursuit vehicle. Anything you want.
Oh, come on. That's crazy. I mean,
Tell us, what do you got?
It's going to be something with a blower and everything else that'll run like 250 miles an hour. I mean, but, that's crazy. It'd be a Corvette with freaking stop sticks coming out the side of it and every freaking... I mean, come on. I mean, you're talking some crazy shit, but yeah.
Well, isn't there some agencies like in Dubai that have like those crazy kind of...
They have Lamborghinis and shit, yeah.
That's police
because they can afford it, yeah.
Who does the transport?
Hey, there are agencies out there that are seizing vehicles like Corvettes and the Scat Pack Challengers, Chargers, and all, and they're turning them into police cars, and
Dude,
they're kicking ass.
You mentioned Scat Pack. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a sheriff on Instagram, and he's like, "Hey guys, we just caught these bad guys. They thought they could chase from our..." and this is sheriff. He's like, we're professional. He's like, we caught them with our Scat Pack. And he points down to a guy that they had arrested. How did that go for you?
I love it when they do that kind of stuff, man. That's just absolutely amazing.
And that's the freedom of that a sheriff has.
Steve-O.
We got a comment that says from Lynn,
What?
Ronathon, which first name is better, Bridget or Allison?
Bridget?
Ronathon, I guess. That's
What bra-a-thon?
Ronathon? Ronathon, which first name is better, Bridget or Allison?
Oh, that's probably from my better half, and she's at a party. So I am going to say, because of the uniqueness of it, I'm going to say Bridget.
Bridget?
What do you say?
I'm going to go with Allison.
Oh, well, of course you are. Of course you are. Just to start some shit. Of course you are. Yeah, of course you are.
All right. So,
all right, let me ask you one.
yeah, sure.
Your hairiest, of course, hairiest with that
Thank you very
freaking hair.
much.
murder investigation in a brief synopsis. What was the craziest one you ever dealt with?
So
See, I almost went with those questions, but I didn't know if it was going to put him on the spot. Too much.
so
I don't care.
So I've worked a lot of I've worked a lot of death,
Yeah.
but not a whole lot of murders.
Hairiest murder.
So, gosh, I don't know about Harry.
Okay, hairiest death.
So I'm gonna. Okay. So I worked when I worked with the
Yeah, let you off the hook.
when I worked with the state, we worked a lot of officer involved shootings, and this guy and his girlfriend, wife, whatever, was robbing people all the way up and down I-4, and Altamont or Ocoee caught up with him, and he pulled a gun on him. They ended up shooting him, and when we went to the autopsy. This was so crazy. On his back, his entire back was a tattoo of him driving down like a desert highway, being chased by the cops, shooting at the cops. This is his back tattoo.
Really?
This was the guy's life. I mean, he's freaking shooting at the cops in his tattoo. And then he ends up getting killed by the cops in real life.
Wow.
Right?
Holy
And then
cow.
I worked another officer-involved shooting in our county, and they had shot this guy, and he had shot the cops, and we're at the autopsy, and I'm going through his wallet, and he's got a laminated letter,
Right.
and it's like, "Dear so-and-so, if you are reading this, the motherfucking cops got me."
Holy shit.
It's laminated.
Wow. Wow. Steve-O, I sent you a message.
Now, the most senseless murder I ever worked was in our city. Two guys get off of work, same job, at a pizza place, and they're all drinking and stuff at the bar afterwards, and one goes into the restaurant or into the restroom and writes a note, "Hey, for a good time, call what's her face, which is the wife of the other guy." Well, he gets pissed. He takes it personally, and he goes to this guy's house and beats him to death for this
Wow.
for this comment.
Holy cow. Hey, guys, we're going to have to go to a short, brief intermission real quick. We're having a blast here. We're going to pick it back up in just a minute. We got to change batteries on the camera because it's down to like 10%. I don't want it to cut off. So give us just a minute and jump out and go to potty or whatever you need to do. But we are going to take a brief intermission. So stick around, guys. We will be right back in just a second.
Perfect. I gotta pee. All right. Well, I had to take a pee break. I have a bladder of a peanut. So
We are back, back live. Hey guys, we appreciate all the comments so far. Thank you. Please keep them coming. It keeps the show going. We are into quite a few minutes here. I mean, we're kicking butt, and
we're loving it.
Yeah,
Want to hear from you guys? Hey,
we're into an hour already. Holy cow!
So LT, besides the scene that you and I both were on, where the lady got hit by a semi truck, where's THI?
That worked?
Yes.
Okay.
That you remember?
Well, probably
traffic homicide investigation for
yeah.
THI.
Probably the one that I assisted on, and it was, or no, actually, this was my very first one. It was sad.
You always remember the first.
It wasn't gross or anything else. It was just, it was sad.
Yeah.
And it was an older couple. They were in a SUV, or a passenger car. And they made a left-hand turn right in front of like a 1984 Dodge pickup. You know, and they're flat and they're big. And the old man was in the passenger seat and the old lady was driving, and it hit him right in the side. And it killed the old man. And I had to go and deliver the death message to her at the hospital. And then I had to go, and talk to her later and take all the and ask her all the questions and everything. And she said, "Oh my God, I've killed Harold. And am I going to jail?" And I'm like, "Ma'am, this was an accident. You did not do anything criminal. You weren't driving recklessly and like a bat out of hell through town. You made a left turn. You didn't see the guy on the other side of the truck that was coming, and it was an accident. No, ma'am, I am not charging you." So I got with the state attorney and I go, "Listen, this resulted in a homicide. Do I really have to charge this lady with vehicular homicide?" And I told him the whole situation.
Right.
And thank God the prosecutor had a heart, and they said, "No, this lady is 87 years old.
Right.
We are not putting her in prison for killing her husband accidentally." Yeah. But
she's going to be living in hell until she dies anyway.
It was just so sad,
Yeah,
man. It was so
way
sad.
Way to bring us all down, LT. I appreciate it.
You asked. You asked. Don't ask if you don't want to know. That's what I always say.
So I have two. One, I think you might have been the investigator on. One was, it was on a Sunday. I don't think you worked this one. Ski worked this one.
Oh God!
Yeah, right. It was on the interstate, and we've got two ladies in the front, three kids in the back, and they're going down the interstate, and these two drunk assholes cross the median head on, and kill the two ladies and the two moms in the front, and kill two of the three kids in the back, and paralyze the third.
That was the minivan, right?
On
I-4?
Yeah, on I-4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the only motherfucking damage of these assholes who crossed the median was one of them had a broken foot.
Yep.
And they wiped out an entire families. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and I can't stop remembering that.
No,
I mean,
you
that was
can't.
freaking
You can't.
40 years ago.
You can't.
And then another one was, and I don't know if you
And
were
we didn't have no PTSD down,
No. Shit,
back
no.
then, where you could claim, oh, I'm having dreams about this, and oh, I need a medical, discharge, and you couldn't claim all that, man. You went home and you talked to your buddies and you freaking dealt with it. That's the way you did it. You just dealt with it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what we did.
Yeah. So the next one was, kid turns 16, got a brand new car for his birthday, and he's driving around all day, and then his buddy's like, "Hey, let me drive your car." And they go in the Premier area, and
I remember that.
right, the kid who owns the car doesn't have a seatbelt on.
Yep.
The kid who's driving it loses control, and he gets flipped out, and the kid who got that car that day for his birthday gets run over and squished by the car,
Yep.
dead.
Yep.
And I just like, holy shit, this shit that happens.
You want to know the weirdest one, though? The absolute weirdest one?
Always.
Actually, there's two of them.
Okay.
One, a lady was walking down the sidewalk, out for a jog walk. And a freaking high school kid in a Dodge pickup comes tearing ass down the road, Lake Emma.
Okay.
Comes tearing ass down the road, loses control, goes through the median, and hits her on the opposite freaking side of a 4-lane highway on the sidewalk. She just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and squished her flat. And I'm like, God has a plan. There's no way that is just a for instance. You know, I mean,
I think Lake Emma is haunted or
it really
or
is.
cursed.
It really is.
One of
we worked like 10 THIs on that freaking road. It's a road that goes like this through our town, and it's like a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, and nobody does below 60. Yeah. No matter how much traffic control we work out there.
I tell my students that I'm 0-3 in CPR.
Yes, you are.
I am 0-3 in CPR. Do not have a heart attack around me.
That son of a bitch couldn't save a frog.
And one of those 0-3s is on Lake Emma.
I'm sorry we're laughing. It's called gallows humor. We're just laughing because that's how we deal with it.
Yeah, my mirror's like, so you killed 3? I'm like, no, I didn't kill 3 people. Jerks, I hate all of you. I want to punch you right in the face.
Yeah, he did. He's terrible at CPR.
You know,
go ahead, brother.
Statistically, yes.
Steve
Producer Steve.
Jody asks, what's the greatest arrest?
Ooh, greatest arrest.
Ooh, okay. Mine was on the America's Top 10 Wanted list.
Really?
It was in the second agency I worked in Northern Volusia County, and they were FDLE came in and said, hey, we need to get this guy. We've got information that he is over here at XYZ. I was like a 1-year rookie. They gave me a 12-gauge shotgun, and they said, okay, you cover them as they go in. And I'm like, all right, whatever you say,
whatever. I'm all over it.
So I go in, and we get him, and nothing happened. You know, everything went smooth. Everything went good.
What was he wanted for? Murder somewhere else?
Yeah, murdered. He was on the, he was like number 9 on the 10 most wanted.
Nice.
In Florida, not America, but in Florida. Yeah. And I got a letter from FDLE and everything else, and I was like, "Yeah, baby, that was pretty freaking awesome. That was awesome."
Very good. My greatest arrest, or I think I'm going to butcher the English language here.
You always do.
My funnest arrest was. So I'm a detective, and I'm about to be. I'm like 2 days away from going to FDLE. I'm transferring over, and I'm heading to lunch with my detective partner, and he's already there. We're eating lunch in Sanford, and we get a call of a burglary in progress.
Oh,
and so I pull in. And
Mach 12,
and I'm in my freaking detective
I've ridden
Taurus.
with you. It's freaking scary.
So and it's like it's like a TV. I'm like, I don't believe I'm seeing. I watched this guy run from back behind the house with a VCR in his hand. He's like, run into this car. I'm like, what the. Okay.
This is actually happening.
Right? I'm seeing this thing
TV
freaking live. So I pull in front of the car and I jump out and I pull my gun and I'm pointing at these 2 knuckleheads.
He's destroying the set. Thanks, Camille.
I'm pointing my gun at these 2 knuckleheads and they're not raising their hands, and I freaking kick the bumper of the car to get their attention, and I'm pointing it in. They're like, "Okay, you're serious." Later, we were in interviewing this guy. I thought, and the one guy said, "I thought that motherfucker was gonna shoot me."
He would have if he'd have pulled a gun.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was my most. I loved arresting everybody.
You know, and I see a lot of comments, and that brings up a good point. I see a lot of comments, oh, cops just shoot first. Oh, cops just pull their guns for no reason. Here's the deal, guys. You walk up on a car, you've just chased them, or whatever. They've already committed a felony by running, so they're a fleeing felon. In the state of Florida...
Let me stop you right there. What differentiates a fleeing and eluding misdemeanor versus a fleeing and eluding felony?
High speed with the individual officers' lights and sirens activated at high speeds.
High speed is... How much over the speed limit?
There's no given definition of that. It's
so
high
if I'm
speeds.
going down the interstate and the speed limit's 75, I'm doing 80, is that high speed?
No. But if you're running 100 miles an hour and you're evading capture and you're swapping lanes and you're driving reckless, that's considered to be high speed felony, fleeing and eluding. So you get out of the car, you pull your weapon because you don't know why this guy's fleeing. He could be a wanted murderer out of wherever or have 2 pounds of freaking heroin in the trunk. You don't know what the situation is.
No, wait. A lot of our commenters, they know.
Well, of course they do.
They 100% know that all cops
and we
just
see the comments
blow
right
people
and left.
away with
They
no
pull
problem.
their guns first. They pull their guns first. You know, they shoot first. No, they don't. Yes, they pull their guns first because why not have the advantage in a possible deadly situation and have your gun out at the low ready and ready to take on any adversary if it comes?
So
why not?
LT, you were a cop 35 years. You shot like, what, 40 people?
Oh, well, you would think. But no, I never shot one individual, not one time.
Really?
Not
That's
one
weird.
time. Pulled my gun. I fired my gun. A warning shot,
When
even
was
though
that?
it was against policy.
I don't remember. When
It was at
that?
my second agency where I was undercover, and they were all coming at me with freaking rakes and hoes and
Okay.
everything else. Yeah, I told that story.
Were you Frankenstein?
Yeah, you would think. No, they didn't have torches. That's the only thing they didn't have was torches. But yeah, it was some scary shit. But anyway.
Well, I don't know, 20 years. I didn't shoot anybody either. Weird.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny that our commenters sometime automatically take what the media gives them, which is, you know, cops are out here shooting everyone. Let me tell you something. I was 35 years on the job, and yes, I didn't work in New York City, LAPD, you know, Louisiana, you know, some of the, New Orleans. I mean, some of those
St. Louis.
yeah, St. Louis, some of the hotbeds of crime. But let me tell you, I pulled my gun numerous times. And thank God the offender said, holy shit, he's got his gun out. I give up.
And the thing is, it's a force multiplier.
It is a force multiplier. Absolutely.
It's just showing the bad guy that I'm ready. If you want to take this to the next step, understand that I'm ready to follow you there.
Absolutely.
It's
It's
not
like
a,
Grady Jed said, yes, we fired our weapons. We shot our guns. And we shot them a lot.
Yeah.
Because if you pull a gun on one of my deputies and you shoot at them, you are going to be shot back at, and it's going to be a lot.
Anytime I drew my weapon and pointed at somebody, it was to show them that I am ready for the next step.
I'm ready to kill you if I have to.
If I need to,
if I have to.
will. I would really love for you not to go there.
Yep, absolutely. Steve, do we have any more questions, brother?
Before we wrap this up,
You didn't get to answer if you had to return to the beginning, would you change anything?
Oh, there you go. And then we're going to wrap it up.
you know what? I love being a detective. I think I would. No, I don't think I would have changed anything. You know, everybody makes mistakes, and
of course
we want to fix those. But no, I love the route that I took. You know, Larry, like, well, didn't you want to be sergeant, lieutenant? No,
we had a great career, didn't we, brother?
I wanted to be a
Absolutely.
detective, and that's where I went. And yeah, totally.
Listen, Steve came over here of his own volition. He set up our camera. He set up our live feed. He's doing all of our TikTok. and Snapchat stuff for us. I can't thank you enough, Steve, for taking care of us, buddy. Thank you so much.
From a couple of old guys who don't know the
don't know
modern
shit about
technology.
that.
When
We really
Steve came
appreciate
in,
it.
yeah,
He has brought our tech game into the 2024 from the 1990s. I can tell you that. Thank you very much.
you probably noticed from when we first did this, we had like a couple of cans and a string.
Yeah, exactly.
and
But
Stephen
listen,
has really taken
everybody
care
that's
of us.
watching, everybody that participated, that sent us comments and everything else, we really appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for being a part of this channel and being part of our family. You know, we love the comments. Keep them coming. We're going to go ahead and post this as a video on our show. Watch the thing, comment, do what you want. It's great. It's full of war stories. We appreciate it. What do you got, bub?
Jake, you're going to have to probably read it on yours if you can, but it's pretty long.
All right, let me see what he got here.
Look at all those comments. Look at all
here
those
we go.
comments, right? What the?
Oh, here we go. He's talking about cursed.
Wait. I see one that says, "Who's handsomer, you or LT?" Obviously, me, of
Oh,
course.
of course. Yeah, he says, you talking about Kerr 1792 between Airport and Lake Mary Boulevard. I discreetly nicknamed the stretch of road the bowling alley because I had to handle so many THIs in that stretch. It absolutely was. And if you noticed in that area now, they have crosswalks that are marked and that are lined out with lights, you know, in certain situations, but they won't use them. They'll still try to play Frogger and jump across that damn highway.
Frogger.
But you're absolutely right. I went and assisted on several of those THIs in that location. It was crazy, man. It was crazy.
So we had a THI. I was not a traffic homicide investigator. Thank God. I hate math and all that shit. But there was one on the interstate where a girl, had used somebody else's ID.
was it a Goyle?
A Goyle. and we made a wrong notification.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, those of you that thinking about getting a fake ID or, hey, it's cool, I can now
Or
go
switch
buy beer.
IDs with your friends.
Yeah, wait until we show up and say that you've been in a massive traffic accident and we notify the wrong parents because
And the
you gave
parents
the wrong
come
name.
to identify the body and you're like, that's not our
That's
daughter.
not my daughter. Yeah, what the hell, or my son, or whatever.
Yeah. I remember-
think about that kind of crap
Oh.
before you jump on there and do something stupid.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
So with like spring break right now, what was your craziest? I guess was it like Christmas? Was it like spring break? What was the craziest holiday that you had to pursue?
It seemed
So-
like Thanksgiving was kind of the craziest,
I
man.
don't
I
know.
always had family fights on Thanksgiving.
I did arrest a guy who beat his wife with a shovel on Thanksgiving because the turkey wasn't ready yet.
Jesus.
But
yeah, Thanksgiving family fights.
Yeah.
I arrested a guy for DUI on Thanksgiving. It's like, what the heck, man?
now, when I was really young, my second
Well,
job
that must have been 100 years ago.
My second job was I worked at beach, right? And it was
Okay.
spring break, and the biggest thing on the beach, you're driving ATVs. The biggest thing is to keep traffic going.
Sure.
So I stopped this car, and I'm like, you can't parallel park. Move it along, move it along. And I stopped him a second time.
Right.
And I'm like, move it along. And I'm like, dude, third time's going to be a ticket.
Yeah.
Catch him a third time. Hey, can you run a 29
Blah, 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 yeah.
tag? Stolen car. Guess where he stole it from? He stole his probation officer's car.
Holy.
So
You talk about brass cojones, man. Holy shit.
not only did this guy steal his probation officer's car, he was contacted twice by law enforcement to move his car along.
Dude, I'd have been out of there. You'd have
And
never
the
found me
third
again.
time,
Holy crap. What an idiot.
Because I'm like, all right, you're under arrest. Don't signal
What do
10.
we always say, Camille? You can't fix
Can't fix
stupid.
So I cuff him. I said, you know, this is a stolen vehicle.
Put duct tape on it, though.
Exactly.
I cuff him. I said, hey, you're under arrest, stolen vehicle. And so I'm interviewing him. I said, so who'd you steal? That's my probation officer's car. I'm like, what?
Steve said you can put duct tape on it, though. You can't put duct tape on anything. 200-mile-an-hour duct tape.
200-mile-an-hour duct tape.
All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. We appreciate all of you. We didn't have a whole lot of viewers, but you know what? We had
It was a lot
a
of
few,
fun.
and that's all that matters. And it was a lot of fun talking about the war stories and all that. This was great. We're going to do this probably once every couple of months. We'll go live and just tell war stories and talk about being a cop. Maybe more of you will join in and join us and ask questions. It was
Absolutely.
great. We appreciate it. Just remember, guys, at Surviving the Badge, we still got your six. Salute. That was Steve-O in the corner. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We appreciate you. Thank you.